The phrase "cost an arm and a leg" is one of those vivid expressions that instantly paints a picture in your mind. You don't just hear it, you feel it. It suggests something so expensive that paying for it would require a sacrifice that's almost unthinkable. But where did this dramatic saying come from? Why arms and legs of all things? And how did it become such a common way to talk about money? Let's find out right here on History of Simple Things. At first glance, the phrase seems almost medieval, as if it might come from a time when harsh punishments or extreme bargains were more common. It certainly sounds ancient, but surprisingly, the expression is relatively modern. Linguists trace its use to the early 20th century, inspired by luxury items so costly, like imported furniture or custom clothing, that buying them felt like giving up a part of oneself, helping the phrase gain traction. One popular theory suggests the phrase comes from the idea of making a great personal sacrifice, paying for something so costly that it feels like giving up a part of yourself made costing an arm and a leg a vivid and memorable expression. While there's no definitive proof this is the exact origin, the powerful imagery likely helped the phrase catch on in everyday language. Another theory points to portrait painting, where before photography, only the wealthy could afford to be painted. The cost often depended on how much of the body was shown. Head and shoulders portraits were cheaper, while full-body paintings with arms and legs cost more. While there's no clear proof this directly inspired the phrase, it offers a logical explanation linking higher cost to visible body parts. Whether or not either of these theories is the true origin, what's clear is that the phrase thrives because of its imagery. Language often leans on exaggeration to make a point, and "cost an arm and a leg" is a perfect example of hyperbole. No one actually expects to give up their limbs, but the phrase instantly conveys that something feels extremely expensive, adding emotion, frustration, and a touch of humor. This use of body parts in expressions isn't unique. English is full of idioms that use the human body to convey abstract ideas. We lend a hand, keep an eye out, or put our foot down. These phrases work because the body is something everyone understands instinctively. By tying cost to something as essential as our limbs, the phrase taps into a deep sense of value and loss, making it especially powerful because they're irreplaceable. Interestingly, the phrase didn't always dominate the conversation around high prices. In earlier times, people used other colorful expressions to describe expensive things. Phrases like "cost a fortune" or "cost the earth" were common, and some still are today, but "cost an arm and a leg" stands out because it feels more personal. A fortune is abstract, the earth is distant, but your own arm, your own leg? That's immediate and deeply relatable. As the phrase spread, it found a natural home in consumer culture. The 20th century saw a boom in advertising, mass production, and global trade. People were buying more than ever before: cars, appliances, homes, and later gadgets and technology. As purchases increased, people needed more expressive ways to describe price, making "cost an arm and a leg" a perfect fit, dramatic yet everyday. Today, the phrase is used across generations and cultures, often without people thinking about its origins at all. You might hear someone say a concert ticket cost an arm and a leg, or that a new phone wasn't worth the price. It's even used jokingly, sometimes with a hint of exaggeration that everyone understands. Over time, the phrase has softened, shifting from a serious image to a lighter, more playful tone. Still, its core meaning hasn't changed. It remains a way to express the gap between what something costs and what we feel it should cost. And that emotional gap is important. Price isn't just about numbers, it's about perception, value, and expectation. When something costs an arm and a leg, it's not just expensive. It feels unfair, excessive, or even shocking. There's also something interesting about how the phrase reflects human psychology. People are more likely to remember and repeat vivid, unusual expressions. A phrase like "cost an arm and a leg" sticks in the mind because it's so extreme. It creates a mental image that's hard to ignore. This is part of why idioms survive and spread. They're memorable, expressive, and often a little bit dramatic. In modern times, the phrase has even taken on new layers of meaning. In discussions about healthcare, for example, it can carry a more serious undertone. In some places, medical treatment can be so expensive that the phrase feels uncomfortably close to reality, not in terms of literal limbs, but in terms of life-altering consequences. This shows how language evolves alongside society, adapting to new contexts while keeping its original flavor. The exact origin of "cost an arm and a leg" remains mysterious, which adds to its charm. Shaped by art, culture, and everyday experience, the phrase endures because it captures a universal feeling, paying too much, and turns a simple complaint into a vivid, relatable story, showcasing the power of language to make us feel as well as understand. So the next time you hear someone say something "cost an arm and a leg," take a moment to appreciate the layers behind that simple phrase. It's more than just a complaint about price. It's a piece of history, a touch of imagination, and a perfect example of how humans use language to make sense of value, sacrifice, and the sometimes painful reality of spending money. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.